Good Wednesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about the cars, the trucks, SUVs, the dogs, the property, all those good things. Good morning, welcome to my channel if you're new, and thanks to those who watch me each day on the morning conversations as we each get the day going and can express our ideas and thoughts and views and what's going on. And got the Hurley hat, the Hurley shirt, and all in recognition of the Fast Johnny, the piglet of the early 1900s motorcycle dirt track and race era. And how about that? There was the dogs are chasing the bunny rabbits here this morning. Wow, what just a beautiful morning. As I sip my coffee here to get the day going. Come on, Scout. No, stay up here, bud. Dry. It's actually not a lot of rain. That's to my advantage for me, not having to cut the grass all the time. And wow, what a week. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I've been busting chops. Want to get out of here. Want to get the truck and trailer situated today. What are we taking to Tennessee? What's going on? Just lots of things are going on right now, and figuring out which direction goes where. Come on, Willow, let's go. And there's Willow way down the property. Here he comes. Here comes Willow. Look at him go. Come on, Will. Not too bad for an old man. These dogs are 10 years old. Come on, Will. We got them 10 years ago. It's like July of 2013. Wow. Oh, we got the F-150 Lightning here all plugged in. Worked out of that yesterday. These trucks are so fast. They're so fast. And, I mean, good Lord. I mean, it's such the love-hate. It's the whole idea of you've got an electric vehicle, you traitor to the ice age. But these things are fun. They're just so different. It's all automated. It's not like your standard vehicle you had so many years, your standard transmission, like the motorcycle. Standard transmissions. What's standard? I thought myself this morning, look at the Fast Johnny. I just think this Fast Johnny is really cool. I just really like this motorcycle. What is that all about? Just the addictions. Now, this isn't a standard. This is an automatic Honda Goldwing, which, ooh, wow. You're driving an automatic motorcycle? Are you kidding me? Hey, Will. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, you wimp. You don't know how to drive a manual. You can't stick shift your motorcycle. I mean, that's a big thing. That's a big thing in the day, that if you had a car and you had your options of a standard manual or an automatic, I mean, in some ways, that was a statement of wealth to buy an automatic vehicle versus standard transmission. You know, so many years ago, people looked at manual transmission cars as the lesser of the two. All right, let's get the day going. Where do I put my Harley hat? There it is. Get my coffee here. Get my morning going. And wow. Yeah, so you hear standard. I thought to myself this morning, we will talk about the standards. And I thought to myself, SAE. You see that abbreviation on so many things that you buy. And SAE is an abbreviation in the automotive world for the Society of Automotive Engineers. And that was actually founded in 1905 for a universal platform of the automotive industry at that time, feeling they had to set a standard of what was acceptable, of what manufacturers were building and selling. And that has stayed with us now over 100 and, close to 20 years, 118 years, right? Because 2005 would have been 100 years from 1905. So, yeah, so I thought to myself, wow, standard could be such a broad statement. Standards, I think to myself, boy, what are the standards today in society? But then I thought to myself, what are the standards today in the overall manufacturing? But then I thought to myself, what does standard mean when you go buy a car? And back in the day, if you went to a dealership and you said, I want a standard shift vehicle, a knowledgeable automotive person would be like, okay, you want to buy a manual transmission car. And believe it or not, in 1980 35% of the car sales in this country were standard manual transmission vehicles. Yet today, as of 2022, 1% of the vehicles sold in this country are standard manual transmissions. And if you know how to drive a manual transmission, you are one of 18% of the general driving population in this country that even knows how to drive a standard car. Wow. That's pretty incredible. I would have never imagined that number was that low. Only 18% of the people in this country know how to drive a standard manual vehicle. I mean, that's the running joke if you own a Dodge Hellcat or a nice performance car that's a manual, that people aren't going to steal the car because they don't know how to drive the car. And believe it or not, I have gone to car dealerships and I have dealt with salespeople who point blank say, hey, I got to find somebody else to bring the car up front because it's a manual transmission. I don't know how to drive stick shift. And I'm like, wow. Hey, Will, how are you? What's Willie Pilly doing over here? Little Willie Pilly wants attention. Yes, you do. You're just a round-up puppy this morning. So, but I think to myself, the standards, what standards have you set for yourself? And for all of us, I think that we try to set high standards. You kind of lean away from the manual transmission for a moment. You really think to yourself in life, did you create your own standards? I mean, your family, your mother, your father, friends, business, they all have set standards. And then you yourself, you set standards for what you feel is right, wrong, and how you can be the best you can be, or whatever it may be. But boy, oh boy, in today's society, the standards, in my eyes, are going the wrong direction. Just wow. But yet, at the same time, the standards of incredible technology and manufacturing of what we're witnessing is through the roof. It's incredible. And what you can buy today of just incredible quality, technology. So on the automotive side, you can even go to so many other aspects of things that are produced and built where the standards are at the highest level ever in so many ways. And especially like motorcycles. These motorcycles today, the reliability of them, the technology on them, it's just incredible. I mean, they're incredibly designed, motorcycles. So in so many aspects, the SAE, founded in 1905, the Society of Automotive Engineers, they kind of set the tone and the standards for, I guess, for many industries followed them in the same, the same type of level of what's acceptable and what's not. And that's what it's really all more about, is automotive engineering. It was all about what's acceptable and what's not, not cutting the corners, not making, bad products, making reliable products. And then eventually as time progressed, making safe products. And as time progressed, making affordable products. And so the standard, but here's the thing. If you think about it, back when I was growing up, that was really exciting for me as a young person to learn how to drive a stick shift car, because it's psychologically a little kind of nerve-wracking, because you're trying to do the coordination of letting out, having your foot on the brake, letting your foot off the brake, while your left foot has the clutch depressed, and you're feathering the gas pedal as you let the clutch pedal out, and be able to, finagle that without dumping the clutch, meaning you let the clutch go out too fast, and you didn't give the gas pedal enough gas, and you stall the vehicle. And who hasn't done that? I mean, every single person driven a manual transmission has done that, especially in your early stages of learning how to drive a car. You over-rev it, or you don't rev it enough, and then the car starts going clunk, 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 clunk. I can still remember teaching my daughter with my Ford Focus RS in my yard before she even had a driver's license or anything. She was probably like 13. And she was driving around my yard in the Ford Focus RS, that manual transmission, and learning how to drive that car. And sure enough, the initial thing was, she stalled it, and then it was, But what's incredible today is if you pay attention, like in these Ford Mustangs, when you let the clutch out, the engine automatically revs itself up to really help you feather that clutch out to get it going. So if you really pay attention to these Mustangs, and I think even the Ford RS had that same feature. Once you start letting that clutch out, the engine automatically starts increasing the RPM to help you manage that clutching. So I can be in my driveway here many times in the manual transmission Mustang, and if I just do it just right, I don't even touch the pedal, the gas pedal. The car just pulls away on its own. So that's pretty cool in that aspect. I don't think a lot of people even know that. I didn't even know it. So, but what a great feeling that gives you of confidence of driving that stick shift car. And for me, I learned how to drive a stick shift Toyota Hilux in California when I was like 12 or 13 years old in California. And then eventually my dad bought a 280Z in New Jersey, and I learned, and I drove that car. If I remember right, I think that was the car I took my driver's test in, I think. So for me, that was a really exciting time in my life, growing up driving a Datsun 280Z manual shift car, which was a lot of fun. And then eventually, as I got out of high school and started my career, I ended up driving a tanker truck that required manual transmission, stick shifting capability, which I knew how to drive a stick shift. And even before that, I was driving a maintenance truck for the company, oil company I worked for, and it was a manual shift truck. Yet today, if the statistics are right, could you even imagine a company advertising for a person to drive a vehicle that's manual transmission? How many applicants would show up and wouldn't qualify just for that reason, without having to go through training and a course? Wow. And then who didn't ride their first dirt bike and having to learn how to push down on the lever and put it in first gear, and then pull in your left clutch handle and have your gas on the right, and having to feather out that clutch in first gear and not stall the bike or over rev the bike. Or once the bike took off, you didn't know what to do next. I wasn't seeing those videos of people driving driving the motorcycle into the fence, wheeling the bike, falling off the bike, the list goes on and on and on. And so then learning how to come off that first gear and then go to second gear, third gear, just like my daughter. My daughter, her first bike, she was riding around like these electric bikes, or whatever you want to call them. And so on her first motorcycle I got her, the Honda CRF 110, she had to learn how to clutch the bike. And, it was a little intimidating for her, but it took a little time. And then it took her time to figure out how to, go from first gear to, the second gear to third gear, where she would try to sync the transmission with the engine RPMs. It took some time for her to kind of get really used to understanding on how that works. Then downshifting the motorcycle, there's a whole other thing. You just come to a stop in fourth gear and then try to take off, and it ain't gonna go. Who hasn't started off in second gear or third gear in their car? And just like when she was learning how to drive the manual transmission Mustang Bullitt that I bought, it was pretty cool about that car. It actually had the what gear you're in on the dash. But yeah, a few times she put it in third gear, thinks she's in first gear, because you just didn't know the position of that, how you shifted. But I just think those are great. I mean, today it's really incredible how many people you'll run into. But also I understand too, the manual transmission vehicle is more today than ever in kind of your performance-oriented vehicles to a degree. So for a lot of people, they don't have parents that have like performance vehicles. So it's very challenging for somebody out there that grows up in your regular family with mom and dad, the minivan and the four-door sedan car or truck, and you just don't have access to be able to drive the manual transmission. I'm surprised there isn't something out there. Which, here's a business idea: you get the manual transmission club, that you have classes and you have a whole fleet of manual transmission cars, and that would probably be a hit. I bet you a lot of younger people, and even people older, would enjoy that, to go to a class and learn how to drive a manual transmission. I just thought of that out of the, that just popped in my head. Ice Age manual transmission teachings this weekend. Right? I mean, and bring out a bunch of cars, get a big parking lot, and you start teaching people how to drive a manual. I bet you that would be a hit. And, charge a nominal fee, nothing radical, and have a lot of fun. Wow. I mean, in all sincereness, is anybody out there even doing that? I think it'd be great. Get a bunch of, I think a Honda Civic would be the perfect vehicle, to find a bunch of older Honda Civics and put those things out there for people to learn how to drive them, because it's not a real big car and it's such a light clutch. Yeah, who doesn't remember the days of the 70s era of people building these big block motors and these Hurst transmissions and whatever, and the spring on that clutch was like, you better be a good squatter, you better have strong legs and calf muscles, because of that clutch was so heavy, and to release it, it'd wear you out. I can remember going to the gym in my dad's Datsun 280ZX. So my brother totaled my dad's 280Z. Yeah, that was a really sad day. And so my dad got their insurance money in 1980 and got a Datsun 280ZX. It was still the Datsun transitioning to the Nissan brand. Anybody listening to what I'm saying? Nissan was originally called Datsun, Datsun. And so we got a 280ZX, and that thing was a stick shift. And I used to go to the gym and do squats and calf raises and leg extensions. I would just kill myself, and my leg would be shaking. So I'd be driving back home, and I would be in stop and go traffic, and it was freaky, as my left leg would be just shaking sometimes, and just about popped the clutch out into somebody in front of me. It wasn't comforting. And who doesn't have a clutch car where you are in traffic? Just like my daughter. She likes her GT Mustang, but at the same time, she doesn't drive it like she used to. So what's going on? She's a truck nut beyond truck nut. She would love to have a manual transmission truck. Oh my gosh. That's her dream, is to have a manual transmission truck, which, where are those these days? If you go to buy a truck today, do you see a manual transmission truck sitting in the parking lot anywhere nearby? Yeah, not for the most part, you don't. If they're out there, you can order them, but for the most part, they're slim to none without the heavy duty or the real work trucks. But anyways, so my daughter, she just doesn't drive that GT Mustang because it's such heavy traffic in this area. And after she goes to the gym and does her leg exercises, she'll tell you, yeah, it's very challenging coming back in just 30 minutes of stop and go traffic. Yeah, I know these stories. I used to even ride my motorcycle to the gym. That was even freaky as well. I used to do like wrist curls and everything else. I'd be on my bike, and who hasn't had their hand on a motorcycle when you're in heavy traffic and you're having to clutch in and clutch out, clutch in and clutch out? Oh my gosh, man! After a while, your left hand is just like exhausted from that constant clutch in, clutch out, clutch in, clutch out. That takes a lot out of you. Until you do that stuff, you just don't get it. And you're holding the clutch in, and you move forward. Oh man, there's a lot more to that. That fun factor starts to disappear real quick. So the standard, and here we are in today's society, and they're saying now that only 1% of the vehicles purchased, but what they're claiming in JD Power Associates is in the last 3 years, the manual transmission sales have actually doubled from not nearly doubled, from 0.9% of the whole record sales to 1.7%. So there's a very small increase in, I should say, there's a big increase in people wanting manual transmissions, but it's slim to nothing in overall sales of the market. But here's the thing, what's real interesting. So many years ago, you would buy a manual transmission car because you get better fuel mileage. Well, today it's the opposite. If you buy a manual transmission today, the car will not be as efficient as the automatic. Yes, that's a proven fact. Even for me, years ago, I was stumped and I'd walk around like the Toyota Tacoma parking lot and I'd look at an automatic Toyota or a manual Toyota Tacoma. And the Toyota Tacoma pickup truck got worse mileage than the automatic. And I was like, wow. Yeah, because the automatics are just such more efficient shifting vehicles than how, who hasn't been in the vehicle where the person drives a manual transmission and they like max out the revs. They take like 3,000 RPMs every time they shift it, when in an automatic transmission, the car is shifted 1,800 or 2,000 RPMs. Yeah, who doesn't know those stories? But the point is, in the good old days, manual transmissions did better on fuel economy than automatics. If you buy a high-performance car, you could actually, or say, you could buy a vehicle today that would maybe get a gas guzzler tax on it because it's a manual transmission. Apparently, Dodge took away the manual transmission in 2021, the Hellcats, but apparently Coons Ford claims that, or Coons Ford, yeah. Coons Dodge of Tysons Corner, Virginia claims if you call them, they can order you now a Hellcat manual. Even though if you go to the Dodge Hellcat website and try to build your own Hellcat, but your time's running out because end of 2023, the car's not going to be built anymore. You got to wonder, when do they turn off the build dates? Will it be September, October, November? I have no idea. But Coons Dodge is saying that if you go to the website for Dodge and try to build a manual transmission Hellcat, you can't do it. It'll just populate to automatic. But if you reach out to them, they can personally change that order from automatic to manual, and you can once again buy the last year run of Hellcats to manual, because apparently Dodge had a problem of synchronizing the transmission with the technology, or I'm not real in deep with it because I don't want a manual high performance car per se in the Dodge side. I mean, the GT500 DCT was nice, the GT350, the Tremec manual, the Mach 1, they're nice. They're all nice, but they're not as fast as the automatics. I mean, the automatics are going to smoke you in your manual. So if you like that real fast, kick down, kick you in the butt, take off, instantaneous, automatic all day long, the manuals, there's no way. The manuals for you to downshift on your own. It just, it's not the same. But I get it. The manual's so much more interactive with the car. You're so much more like in touch. You can just, it's a fun driving vehicle, so no doubt. And that was a big gripe of a lot of people on the GT500 Mustang, is they didn't offer a manual transmission. And another big gripe was when the Toyota Supra came out, same thing. They didn't offer the automatic transmission, but Toyota did finally cater to the complaints, and they released, I think it was 2022, it could have been 2021. I think it's 2022. They released the Toyota Supra with a manual transmission, which all the people out there were jumping up and down. They, caved to their complaints, and you can get a manual transmission. And for me, on the truck side, I've had a few manuals. My Viper SRT 10 truck was a manual, but it was a long manual. It was that real long shifting, like a big old truck. So it really wasn't, it was, I would have preferred a two-door, automatic transmission over that stick, but you could only get the automatic and the four-door Viper SRT 10, and that truck was so lame. It was ugly. I had it. I had the four-door. It's hard to believe that I had 4 Viper SRT 10 trucks. 3 of them were manuals, and one of them was a four-door automatic. And actually, I think I had 3. I had a silver, I had the black, and I had the black. Yeah, so I had 3 SRT 10 trucks back in 2000, from 2004 to 2006. And then I had a Black Knight package. That was a cool truck. I wish I would have kept that one. That motor, just so nice. Yeah, so anyways, it's all about the standards. But I think to myself, standard transmission, the Society of Automotive Engineers that created the platform for the automotive world to have an agreement of what was acceptable, wasn't acceptable. And I think to myself, standards, what's the standards of society? What's the standards of our civilization? What's the standards of our country? What is mankind? In our own country, it seems as if the standards have gone to the ground. It seems as if the standards of wanting to have higher and better things is reversing by the governing bodies of this country that are accepting lower standards. It really is sad. Now, my wife claims that the city of Baltimore's seniors are not at grade level reading and other, skills, academic skills, and that the NAACP is suing Baltimore City. I mean, this is something my wife said. I haven't researched it. So could it be misinformation? My wife usually tries to tell me information that seems pretty legitimate. So apparently the NAACP is suing the Baltimore public school education system because they've lowered their standards for the students to such a really low level that sadly the students are graduating, but they're not even at academic skills to be really even qualified to graduate. So, which I think that's a great thing. I think NAACP is suing the public education system to tell them that your standards of schooling, of teaching, have gone so low, it's not acceptable, and you have to raise your standards. And I wish more of this type of thing would start to be talked about more, and more people would start participating and going after so many aspects of in the educational system and just our society, of the governing bodies that are allowing the standards to be lowered beyond believable. What we're witnessing in the lawless cities, the homelessness, the drug abuse, the illegal immigration. So it's incredible how we are witnessing on one aspect of life, the technology side, the standards have been raised through the roof, that you and I have access to things like never seen before, that your parents and grandparents never had. But at the same time, we're witnessing more than ever the standards of our society be going to the lowest standards in this country ever seen in modern times, of what's going on. If people can steal things with no, recourse. I mean, there's a story somewhere where some employees called out people stealing stuff from their store and they were fired because they called the police. There's just infinite stories of all these things going on around us. So the crime is through the roof, and for the criminals, it's justice for them and not justice for the victims. And beyond believable, the standard, for the criminal, their standards have been raised in the fact that they're allowed to do whatever they want to do in so many aspects with no real recourse to their actions. But yet the people that have to pay for all the things that these criminals do to them, their standards are being lowered beyond believable because they're having to accept that this is the new norm for the way society operates in running a business. Or if you're an individual that lives in a city where the morale and the lawlessness has gone to the standards of third world countries, your standards of living have depreciated as well. And even your value, maybe your home that you've lived in for many years, has been now devalued because people don't want to live in your neighborhood because of the standards of the governing, political powers to be and governing communities powers to be have allowed the standards to be lessened. And then we talk about the school systems. It seems like the school systems is more now about not how to learn something, but be told what to learn. I mean, more than ever, you hear the stories of people that they don't correctly write things correctly in their term papers or whatever their assignment is. If they don't word certain things correctly, they're failed. So the standards of what an individual thinks is right versus wrong, now their standards have been lessened and lowered to question what they think makes sense and doesn't make sense. And then you go to the immigration of our country, the challenges. It's been around, so it's not something that I think anybody could say, well, it's illegal immigration is an ongoing problem, but here's the problem. We as a country have lowered our standards for the expectations of other governing body standards. I mean, here you have a worldwide, in so many ways, society of automotive engineers that set a platform for what's acceptable versus not acceptable. And the European countries know there's some manufacturers that make cars that can't sell cars in this country because they don't meet those SAE standards. But yet for us as individuals in this country, people are coming here in the droves because their countries don't meet the standards of what they feel is right. And they think coming here, they will have better standards to live a better life. But yet us and our governing bodies of our country are fixated on these people showing up and deterring them. But yet anybody that I know of is going around the world and talking to these governing bodies and saying that your standards of living in your country are so ridiculous and so bad that others are coming to our country to try to have a better life, but we just accept that the other countries, we don't care. We don't care. We just want to take care of their problems on our tax bill. I mean, has anybody heard any candidate in this country ever talk about how we need to start sitting down with the governing bodies of other countries' world and start telling them there's standards of a society you have to start coming to a plate with and start taking care of your own and stop this continued letting all these people go somewhere else because you have these regimes in power, dictatorships, and corruption through the roof in these other countries. You don't hear this conversation. So where's the standards of living for the world that we have a platform to try to be more aware of, trying to help other countries bring up their standards of living so many people aren't leaving their countries? And I know that's deep, that's heavy. I get all that, but at the same time, you got to start somewhere. I mean, when do you turn off the spigot of all these unhappy people where the standards of living where they come from are despicable? But I don't hear anybody talk about it. All I hear is the freaking never ending. One party points the finger at the other party, and it just doesn't end. But what's the end result? Yeah, we know the end result. So our standards in this country are being lowered more than ever in our modern times. I mean, think this through. More than ever in our modern times, we're witnessing the standards of life are being lowered. And it's not acceptable. When do people start standing up and saying it's not acceptable? You're hearing the story in New York City that you can go to a vending machine to buy a pipe to smoke meth. So the inner cities we're witnessing that the governing bodies are setting the standard of these individuals to help them continue to live a life of just desperation and drugs that doesn't resolve the problem. But yet we have governing bodies and people that feel that that's going to help resolve their problems by just feeding the addictions to these people and paying for housing for them when it's so much deeper than that. And there's got to be a different mindset on how to handle this. But once again, the standards are being, in our country more than ever, I feel the standards to be better are not the driving agenda. The standards of you being lesser and more reliant on a government is the driving force. And that's what's really interesting is there's a whole thing about the Chinese. I got to talk about that tomorrow. About the EV. We got to remember to talk about the Chinese and the EV revolution that started in 2009 in China. And we'll also talk more in depth about that tomorrow. And wow, if that playbook isn't the exact same playbook that this country is using right now that China used, yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm out of time. I appreciate everybody watching my video, and I appreciate everybody making nice comments and support. And once again, I think we are in desperation times more than ever in our society of lowering our standards. It's ridiculous. It's not acceptable. And the people that are remote working, that are having a fit, here's some major life insurance company that's demanding that people come back to work when just a year ago the former CEO said that they would be able to remotely work forever. But the new CEO that's come in has said, no, that's not true. You got to come back to work. And all these people are having a fit. And so, I've mentioned this many times. Is the remote working lowering the standards of people's work ethics? Are people smoking pot throughout the day that remotely work? Are people drinking at home? I mean, I've talked about this before. It's even a proven article in Wall Street Journal that remote workers more than ever are abusing their bodies by being, high and drunk throughout the day, and they've got major addictions. So are these remote workers really, underlying statement is, I can't smoke my pot in the morning and work now if I have to go back to work because they'll know what I'm doing. I can't drink my alcohol throughout the day because they'll know what I'm doing. Yeah. So I think many corporations are seeing through this and saying they're lowering their standards of work ethics, and it's not acceptable. And you need to either come to work or just go smoke pot and drink your day away. And that's what's probably going on more than ever. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching my channel. Stay tuned. What are we doing next? We're going to Tennessee. I'm leaving today. We may be. I don't know. Jesus Christ. It just doesn't stop. I got honey to do projects down there in Tennessee. I got to get a furniture down in Tennessee. What am I taking down? Too much going on, right? Yikes. Wow. All right, everybody. Thanks. God bless. Stay safe. Stay tuned. Have a great day.